When I set out to do this modelmentary, I was looking for a pure woman with a refreshing take on life. Not your average, ordinary model with a typical, predictable point of view, which really isn't much of a point of view at all. It's just someone who's just going along with what everyone else says and doing average. I wanted a model who was contrary to average, contrary to doing what everyone else says and thinking what everyone else thinks. A model who was striving to do more than just being an average, normal model. When I found America Honey, it was as if she found me to tell her story as much as I found her to tell a story. In a world where you don't need to be a biologist to know what a woman is, America Honey is that pure woman you can count on when the going gets tough, because she's the kind of woman who stands for what's right, not for what's left.
Convention of States is an awesome grassroots organization, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's working together to call an Article 5 Convention of States, which will be the first time in history.
So, what does this have to do with you as America Honey?
America Honey is all about freedom and protecting our freedom. So, Article 5 was written into the Constitution and gives the people the right to call an Article 5 Convention of States when the powers that be start to get too tyrannical. You know, because they kind of thought that might happen at some point, and so we have to go through this process of agreement, and it takes a long time. It's not easy. There's no risk because it is so such a long process. But I'm all about freedom, so it's important to ensure our freedom and what the framers of the Constitution intended, and that can only be preserved when the people. It is we the people, and so when the government starts to get too tyrannical, we call an Article 5 Convention of States.
How did you, as a model, become so involved? Like, why do you care?
I care because this country that people take for granted gave me everything that I have, and my ability to be a model and have fun and express myself and be an individual, and without all of that, I wouldn't be able to be that. And I think people have taken our freedoms for granted, and so they don't realize. So I care about that, because if we lose our personal freedoms, which have already been slowly taken away, of course there's people fighting back like me, thank God, but we won't have America anymore. And people sometimes forget we're the only country that has freedom of speech. There are sort of versions out there, but no one actually has that freedom of speech like we do.
What inspired America Honey to get involved with this?
I felt restricted by the lockdowns. They were tyrannical and insane. Being persecuted, being socially treated like a social outcast because I refused to be part of the experiment, and that, you know, the powers that be giving people incentives to be part of an experiment, and that was unproven and dangerous, as we're seeing, and just the total overreach and violation of our Constitution all over the place. And that affected my personal life. I've lost friends and family members because of these beliefs, and I'm not going to be caught up in this, cult, brainwashing, military-grade propaganda nonsense. And that's all part of the secular religion. I'm not interested in any of that.
Do other models share the same view?
I think it's some do, some don't. Obviously, the cool ones do.
What would you say to those other models out there who are afraid to make a stand like you?
That's a great question. It's super important, especially now more than ever, to be bold and unafraid. And that's part of who I am, is boldness and fearlessness. So I would say to them, if you're afraid you're going to lose a job or lose a friend, or who cares? Because it's worth it. Sometimes you have to not be short-sighted and see the big picture. I mean, you should never be short-sighted. And be bold and courageous. If you don't stand up for what's right, if you don't stand up for a principle, then you're part of the problem and you need to get out of the way. You know, people wonder what they would do during World War II or any time where there's been a massive tyranny, and whatever you're doing right now is what you do. So those that are looking the other way, those that are in denial and not wanting to see the truth, that's exactly what you would do then. You would be looking the other way. You would be throwing me and other people like me under the bus. So good riddance to you. These people who are afraid, they need to have their moment of looking into the mirror and wake up. And if they can't do that, then they need to just get out of the way, because they are part of the problem.
So would you say modeling for you now is about standing for something more than just being pretty?
Absolutely. It's about boldness, courage, strength, celebrating your own individualism, uniqueness, celebrating freedom and your ability to even work and make a living at hopefully what you choose.
So you're using modeling as a platform for your passion now?
That's right. It's a lot more than just appearance. It's being an example. It's giving other people's courage to stand up. Hi, my name is America Honey, and I see fake people.
Around and inspect, and we have detection systems built that can actually help us with this.
So Louder with Crowder is your way to relax and unwind?
We're talking about with cloning, we're talking about with nuclear
proliferation.
When people realize,
And to be informed and entertained all at the same time.
I sit and actually develop a physical.
How did you get into Louder with Crowder?
This is that movie that kind of sucked with Johnny Depp, Transcendence.
Someone told me about his Change My Mind segment that he does, where he goes out to college campuses and takes a stance and says, for example, I'm pro-gun, change my mind, and then he debates with people. And so I just watched that, and it was so interesting and entertaining, but it really got me interested, and he actually helped change my mind about some stuff. And it's interesting to see how people respond and how they try to debate, and how so many of their arguments fall apart, including some of my previous arguments before I changed my mind about things. I don't agree with him on everything, but it's awesome to question your beliefs and be able to have a civil discussion.
So you're not the same America Honey today as you were before you started this Louder with Crowder show?
Yeah, that's right. And watching other people too, but just like that helped open my eyes to some things and really think about some things I hadn't been willing to think about, like things I'd already made my mind up about that. And it made me willing to look at those things and realizing I had some of the same flimsy arguments that some of these people had about certain things, and it made me realize that I was wrong about certain things. And that's good.
So would you say you're a better America Honey today than you were before?
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt.
How far is Tanzania? It's pretty far. Is it far?